We literally are sandwiched between these exceptional hills and the sea.
You know, this used to be a coaching inn, and that was 300 years ago.
The best spaces are eclectic, they don't look designed, they have evolved through time.
Whether it's the bird hide or the beach or the sauna, you know, they're all our little dreams that we drew on a piece of paper, really.
And it's all about connection. Oh, I feel very connected right now.
Welcome to Curated Spaces, the podcast that takes you behind the scenes of the UK's most soulful stays. I'm Molly Cooper, and each episode I sit down with the people who have brought these spaces to life to share their story and bring you the inside scoop. Every single one of these spaces can also be discovered through Curated, the world's first travel booking platform that's powered by tastemakers. We've brought together the most trusted voices in travel so you can find all of their recommendations in one place, ready for you to discover, save and book. We want to make travel planning feel as good as the trip itself, or nearly, so head to curatorspaces.club to get started today. And in the meantime, let's get into today's conversation. So today I'm up in the Highlands in a very sunny Scotland at Glen Dye cabins and cottages, and I'm here to hear all about turning a historic Scottish estate into a modern venture for the new age. Charlie Gladstone, welcome to Curated Spaces. How are you doing today?
Thank you, Molly. I'm very well. I mean, it's sunny outside, and I've got your sunny face looking at me. So how could I not be?
Well, thank you so much for coordinating the weather. We're all feeling very spoiled. There's not a cloud in the sky up here today.
I have a sort of theory that you get the weather you deserve.
I like that. Building up some good karma.
Well, yes. We've worked very hard, and this is an important few days for us. We have a bunch of journalists and people of influence and chefs and friends here, and I never stress about the weather because I think an event is dictated by the weather. Sometimes it can be good when it's raining.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be good when it's sunny.
Yeah.
But I think we deserve this weather because we've worked hard and all of our guests have worked hard.
I think we do deserve this weather.
Yeah, we
Let's
do.
enjoy it.
And it's the perfect day.
And we're sat in the brand new Gladstone dry goods shop. What are we calling this little building?
Yes, so we're calling this an open studio.
Open studio, I love that.
Because it isn't really a shop. And this is called Gladstone's Luxury Dry Goods. And we've subtitled it, as you can see behind you, an open studio of homewares, clothing and dreams.
Love that.
And we have a number of our backgrounds really are in selling things.
Yeah.
And for about the last 30 years, we've been in retail. We had a homewares business called Peddlers, and now we have a farm shop and a restaurant, and we have this business at Glen Dye.
Yeah.
And both of those places have their own goods that we design. And then we also, during lockdown, we started a venture called Some Good Ideas, which was making things entirely in Britain and then selling them to people, but with an entire accurate breakdown of the cost. So they got a chart showing them why they'd cost that. And then about 16 months ago, we launched this small business called Gladstone Helen, which makes clothing and homewares entirely in Britain.
Wow.
And the sort of combination of all of those retail things has meant that we have a load of kind of quite disparate things for sale, all of which are provenance driven, all of which I think without exception are made in the UK, all of which are kind of in some ways sort of luxury, but they're tied together by place. So we only do businesses on our estate in North Wales and on our estate here in Glen Dye.
Yeah.
And I've been looking for a way to bring those products together because Gladstone Helen, which we've launched, and it's been fine. It's a small business, it's never the success that you dream of, as everyone who's started a small business will know. Is quite disparate from the rest of our businesses. So I've been trying to dream up a way of bringing those businesses together. And in this room, which is a beautiful little shed, we have created this sort of open studio and you can look at all the goods and you can buy them, but as you can see from the table we're sitting at, nothing is for sale on this table. This is just a bunch of books that we've published or bits of PR or magazines, that sort of thing of our work. And I want people to come in here and hang out, and I hope that through that they can immerse themselves in the stuff that we make. But I'm not calling it a shop because I don't care if we don't sell anything.
No.
I want people to come and understand who we are, and through that I hope that we can lead them into our hospitality businesses, which are really our main business. So self-catering, we at this place in Glen Dye, We have these 10 holiday houses. And we have a lot of sort of things around those. We have a little summer restaurant, we have saunas, we have an outdoor activity school, we have craft lessons.
Yeah.
And I want people to come here, and I think coming into this space that we're sitting in, I hope that they will be able to touch and feel what we do.
Yeah.
And through that, they'll understand more about us. And I think that this business, or our businesses, are businesses of layers of integrity. And I like to think of them as like a sort of old-fashioned stick of rock. You remember that you used to have writing through it?
Yeah.
That however you cut through it, at whatever point in it, it says the same thing.
Yeah.
And all of our businesses are deeply personal. And Caroline and I have touched everything. Caroline being my wife of nearly 40 years, we've touched everything. So in the houses here, or the shared spaces, every single item has been purchased, hung, positioned by me.
Yeah. Oh wow.
And Caroline does all of the colours and the hard fittings like bathrooms and lights.
Yeah.
And every single thing has been hung by me. So there isn't a single picture that hasn't been hung by me, a single book that I haven't read in one of the houses, a record I don't love.
Yeah.
There isn't a spoon I haven't chosen. And I think that this room here, I hope, is an expression of that. And we've launched a website for this business, but it doesn't have anything for sale on it. And we don't have an email address. It says if you want to get in touch, you can write to us or ring us. And I want to create retail businesses that in no way force anyone to buy anything. Because I think I'm at that stage. I mean, I obviously need to make money. I've got maybe as close to 100 people on my payroll.
Yeah.
The businesses are doing quite well, and most of that's in Wales, by the way, not here in Scotland, for clarity. But I think that retail has got to shift, and we're existing in this world where there's either the very, certainly in clothing, which we make quite a lot of with Gladstone Helen, behind where you're sitting, Molly, there's some of the clothes, is either very low end, and I have, we all have a bit of an issue with that on some levels, the sheen and people like that, or very, very super expensive. Yeah. And it's equal, in my estimation, a pair of trousers from Gucci and a pair of trousers from Shein are both equal amounts of crap. One just costs 50 times more. Yeah. And I don't have a problem. People can buy both. It's not an issue. But I think the middle ground is what's interesting, where the soul and the soul is in the provenance. Yeah. So, for example, these are bandanas, right? And this is a really good example. This is obviously not British cotton, because you can't get British cotton. But we commissioned someone to make a really well-known lino cutter who lectures at St Martin's to make the prints. Yep. He made the prints. Then we get them printed by one person, and then we get them hand-hemmed by another person. Amazing. And so they're expensive. I mean, they're expensive, but there's a real story and a narrative to it. And I think that for me is what the future of luxury should be. And I mentioned this, you and I were sort of talking indirectly last night, and I said that I think that there is now a luxury in experience and in family and in stuff of soul and depth. And I would like to think that if someone came to Glen Dye to stay in our curated spaces, that they would really understand that this was an absolute sort of outpouring of love. And we're I'd make no claim for us being perfect, but I don't think there are many self-catering businesses that are as well put together in terms of the love and affection, and we've been super determined on every single level. So I like to think that everything that a guest encounters here has been touched in a thoughtful way.
And I think you can really feel that. It's quite a special part of the world. You come down to this little valley, there's this bubbling river flowing through it, you go over the little bridge, and then you suddenly see these little buildings all tucked away in the hillside. And you arrive and there's this big, the Glen Dye makes you happy sign, this bright blue, and you get this sort of like, oh my gosh, I felt like I was arriving at scout camp, but on steroids. Yes. And all this artwork and these people, and it just felt like this really like cool, creative spirit to the place.
And then we had our free time yesterday, and my co-founder and I went for a little run around, and we found these like wood-fired hot tubs in the woods. We were like going to look for the sauna, went down to the river, and we just had this real sort of fun, childish energy, just this like joy of just sort of being and exploring, and the BYO pub, which is just brilliant. And I feel like you can really get that sense of the care and the attention that's gone into it. And I'd love to hear a bit about the origin story when you and Caroline decided to do this project. Did you know what it would be, or
okay. Well, I mean, it's interesting. So first thing is that you mentioned the Glen Dye wall, and that's a very good example of the layers here. It's actually hand painted by a master craftsman, and I think we could have easily got it done digitally and for a quarter of the price or whatever. But actually, what's really interesting about it is that it is it's a layer, and I think that our guests who are I think are sort of design savvy can feel that.
Yeah.
But the origin story is much more complicated because when I was about 18, I inherited 2 estates in Scotland and 1 in Wales, and they were all very run down and in debt, and Caroline and I had decided to move here to Glen Dye in 1989. Or 8, I can never remember, she knows more than I do. When we had 1 child, we were living in London, and we thought we'd take it on, and it was a complete wreck. I mean, everything was wrecked.
Yeah.
The buildings that you're staying in were completely derelict farm buildings.
Wow.
We took them all down, and we rebuilt them with these very well-known architects. However, the project was never about setting up a holiday business. The project was about trying to restore this place that had been in my family since the 1840s and had been neglected for maybe 100 years into something that was a proper a place that was renovated. I mean, we wanted to renovate it, and what we've done is we've worked at that sort of 30 years by hard graft, earning money elsewhere, selling neglected bits in order to fund inwards, and it's essentially a traditional Highland estate. So our main businesses are forestry, farming, and long-term rental of houses, and but there used to be a sawmill which is now collapsed. There used to be a farm buildings which was collapsed. And we've restored all of those things. And then when we'd sort of done most of the restoration, we haven't quite finished yet, but it was a massive project, and there was massive debt and neglect. We thought that we were just ready to do something a bit more creative. And we needed a business because it's very hard to make money from these Highland estates. They were bought in times of plenty. They were bought when people had my family had a lot of money. They wanted a Highland shooting estate, which is what it was traditionally, and that's what they did. And so now we have this place that is actually self-sustaining and in good nick, but a big part of that has been the holiday business. But we sort of superimpose that on top of the business. And the reason that we've done this type of thing is that Caroline and I are both interested in interiors, retail, hospitality. My background was in music. Caroline's background was in design for Laura Ashley, but for nearly 10 years she was the global project manager for an Australian chef called Bill Granger, who's now dead, but who has 22 restaurants across Asia, Australia. He's got 4 in London. And so we're sort of bringing what we can bring to make this place unique. And the sort of logical upside in the business sense is that makes that extra profit that this place needs, because these places, I don't think that small-ish, I mean, it's 15,000 acres, it's giant by most standards, but Highland estates I don't think can really make money on traditional trades, because that was not the intention. And so we've done this, and more than anything else, it's to try and make life entertaining and fun. And this is a very vivid expression of our taste, and it's a very vivid expression of our determination, which is to get things as good as we can within our frame of taste. And to that end, I never say to anyone that my taste is better than anyone else's, but it is 100% the taste that defines all of our businesses, and Caroline's, and therefore people are expected to toe that line. And I don't care if someone thinks that the merchandising would look better at an angle. All merchandising has to be done straight on in our shops and things, and that's not to say there isn't room for expression and fun and mess. I mean, I think you can see in here that I like I like mess. I'm interested in tactility. I want people to be able to pick up things, but I think that this is an expression of how we see the world, and I think that that's my sort of, I mean, just going away slightly from the renovation of the estate. My interest in taste is really founded on this idea that there isn't really such a thing as good or bad taste. There's just a lack of confidence of taste.
Yeah, I love that.
And I mean, I think, for example, if you went into a second-hand clothing shop, and let's take a girl, but it could be a boy, and there's a whole bunch of orange clothes over there from the 1970s, sort of shiny flared trousers and whatever. You look at that and you go, oh my goodness, that is so nasty. I literally can't believe that. Half an hour later, you see this girl walking down the street, like rocking it.
Yeah.
You're like, she is the coolest person I've seen
ever seen.
all
I
day.
want some flared orange pants.
Yeah, I want, and that that's a confidence of taste, and I think that having that confidence is entirely necessary. And I think that the only thing that's worse than bad taste is no taste.
Have an opinion.
Well, most people don't, though, Molly. That I mean, we have definitely around us here, through the layers and through the way the houses, we have coalesced, a strong, not all of our customers, but a strong sort of design-led following, and I think that's substantially why Glen Dye has become, very successful.
Yeah.
Has had a terrific amount of very supportive press, but ultimately, I don't think we had any choice to do it in another way.
Yeah.
And there's so much beigeness out there.
Yeah.
And there's so much copycatting. And we just trying to do it our own way. Anyway.
No, but I think that's so interesting. And these days, I mean, social media, Instagram, everything's been like beigified and 2D-fied for a scroll to stop someone's scrolling for 2 seconds. Whereas I feel like here we've spoken about so many interesting pillars and values this week, like community, provenance, this hand creation, supporting people. I just think they're really special, and I think you can feel that in all the design and all the spaces here. And I wonder if that's, like we were saying, some people not having taste is like they don't know what their values underneath are, and it's very hard to hold that opinion without really caring about those sorts of pillars.
I think that so many people are brilliant and creative, but in some ways that creativity is knocked out of people at a young age. Everyone, is told that they're a brilliant artist when they're young, but being given permission to be it later is harder. But we have built a community around us, but that community has been built by us being honest and straight with our guests and looking them in the eye and trying to, I mean, I think creatively, that we have only really had success in our creative businesses. We've got the other businesses in good nick when we've done things that we would like to go to. And, if I came into this shop, I think this is really good, because if I came into this shop, I would want to buy stuff, and I would want to look at stuff, and I would take photographs. And if I ever tried to copy someone else, it never works. Not that I do try to copy, but, and I think there's that belief in it yourself, true belief, and then the true belief in the guest is another thing which is harder to install in hospitality. I think you have to love people to be in hospitality, but then I think perhaps in many ways more interestingly, to a sort of wider point, the niche is the thing, and believing in your own taste, opinions, way of doing things. That is when things become interesting.
Yeah.
And I think that the doubling down of the niche is really hard, because people are worried about expressing themselves. But to your point about Instagram, everything has become about looking like Kinfolk at one stage or whatever. And well done, Kinfolk, because they developed that. But we have here, each of our houses has a Scandinavian hot tub. And I found those in Scandinavia, and I was the first person to import them. And the guy said to me, "Would you like to be the agent for them?"
Oh, really?
And I said no, because I'm not in that thing. And now they're everywhere.
Everywhere.
And I'm like, but why couldn't people think of their own? I mean, I know that they found them through us. I mean, they're probably listening to this thinking, you arse, don't be so arrogant. But, you know, we had them.
Yeah.
And now everyone's got them. And, of course, the truth is, of course, the world moves on. And ours are still relatively popular with people. Yeah. Did you try and have one last night?
We had free time and we went around 3 tubs.
But you didn't quite...
One was a bit like Goldilocks. Like, oh, it's a little bit chilly. That one's nearly there. Then the third one, we thought, this will be okay.
This will be okay, yeah.
We got it and we were like, oh, it's nice when
I
the
mean, that was a
sun's out.
leading question because I knew you did. But, you know, the sauna has become more a thing now.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, it's the problem with Instagram is the only way to stop is when you see something really good. And the only way to see something really good is when someone does embrace their niche. So, I mean, I have children in the mid to late 30s. I've got grandchildren. I'm 62 years old. I've been self-employed for 40 odd years.
Yeah.
But I don't want to come. I don't know better than other people. You know, I'm still worrying about payroll every month.
Yeah.
You know, it's still hard, but I do believe in my own taste.
Yeah.
And I think part of that comes, of course, because I've, you know, sold to hundreds of thousands of different customers.
Yeah.
You know, with Peddlers, we had 9 shops in Britain,
Wow.
8 in Britain and 1 in Tokyo, and we were online. So I do know that people like what I do, but I know they don't like it if I'm not true to myself.
Yeah.
And so that niche, I think, you know, I think your project is a niche, you know, and the more you don't question your judgment but just lean into it. I mean, you know, great literature, great rock and roll.
Yeah.
You know, the Rolling Stones didn't go around asking people what they thought.
Yeah, exactly.
You know.
Yeah.
And you know, none of the great, you know, I mean, you know, the sort of cubists or the, you know, avant-garde artists don't go saying, you know, what do you think if I start painting?
Exactly.
You know,
Or they
Rothko
never got
didn't
off the
say, I'm just
ground.
going to do some colours.
Yeah.
I'm going to move away from my, you know, slightly abstract figures and I'm going to start doing some colours. You know, he didn't go and ask people that. So I think that Instagram is, by the way, I think Instagram is amazing. And it's been very good for our business here. You know, we have a reasonably substantial following of nearly 100,000 people. But I think most importantly, it's good. It is good for showing you things if you're interested in things. But my God, there is a lot of beige in there.
There's a lot of beige. They need to come to Glen Dye and see some colour, touch
Yeah,
some
well,
fabrics,
I
try
mean,
and
in beige,
knitwear.
I mean in a
No, I
more
know
sort
what
of,
you
you know,
mean.
sort of rounded way. I think people are just a little bit frightened of expressing their own ideas.
Yeah.
But here so you and I are talking during this sort of event. So we created this thing which we do every year, which is like, I suppose, a giant house party. So we invite about 40 people that we would like to connect with. Journalists, influencers, restaurateurs, shopkeepers, whatever, and bring them together. And actually every single person here, as far as I'm aware, particularly those who run their own businesses, I know nearly everyone's work is doing really original work.
Yeah.
And, you know, some of them are so successful at it. I've got these 2 amazing pastry chefs from Scotland, Flora and Darcy from different things, and they're probably the 2 most influential and successful bakeries in Scotland.
Yeah.
And both of them have just lent into their own thing. They're both young people, and, you know, they haven't tried to copy. And all the people that copy Darcy or Flora are not going to do it so well.
Yeah.
So think of your own ideas.
Think of idea. Back yourself.
Yeah.
Go for it.
Yeah.
I'd love to talk about the this event, this 2-day extravaganza. Like I said, it does feel a little bit like Scout Camp on steroids, but much nicer accommodation. And this like brilliant mixing of people, a really creative energy, all different walks of life, so from all over the country. And it's so nice. We're sitting in these big trestle tables. There's colour everywhere, flowers. We've had cooking demonstrations, supper clubs, live music last night. It just felt like this real celebration of all the like most joyful parts of life. So I'd really like to hear a bit about the idea.
It's become an overused and watered down word.
Yeah.
So you close your coffee shop and you say it didn't work because we couldn't find community. But actually the most beautiful community in the world, really, in many ways, was a little village somewhere.
Yeah.
That had a shop in the middle, that had, whatever else, a pub, but where there was room for everyone.
Yeah.
Gay, straight, old, young, the kids looked after the old people, vice versa. And that was a sort of, thing that, and heaven forbid there was an attack or a natural disaster, everyone's looking out for each other. And I think that what we're trying to do here is to be that sort of village shop or that pub. And we, as I said last night when we were when I was talking to everyone, you know, we've invited all these people here with no agenda. We're not asking for anything, and you know, hopefully they don't feel that they're being asked for anything. But I think that the ripples, the love that you can hopefully take away will be enormously beneficial for us, and we can hopefully inspire you.
Yeah.
So in an ideal world, you go back into your gallery, project, business, pub, whatever, and you talk to other people who think that what you do is good, who are influential, and you say, I went to this amazing place, Glen Dye, and that ripple helps. And then hopefully you leave us, and what we give you is, you know, just a little bit of inspiration, some new friends.
Yeah.
But I think we are very much connected. You know, here, as you say, we have all different walks of life from across Britain, but actually not that different walks of life, because there aren't accountants and financiers and doctors and, you know, but there are craft people. There are you know, one or two people who do TV. There are bakers. There are restaurateurs. There are gallerists. There are journalists, and we are symbiotic. We do need each other. I mean, I need you to tell people about my work, and you need me to
go and tell them
create
something
some
about.
content.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what we're trying to do, and we do it for 48 hours. And I think I see it as being like that. You know, my idea is it'd be like a perfect house party. But also we have, you know, we've got maybe, you know, a dozen or 15 people working here, some of whom work in one of our offices in Wales. But they are, you know, it's good for them too.
Yeah.
It reminds them of who they work for. It energizes them. I mean, we've now got this incredibly sort of brilliant team, but you know, I know they've worked very hard, and when they leave tomorrow morning to go home, I think they should feel proud of, pending any disasters.
TBC, touch wood.
Yeah, TBC, exactly.
No, but it's such I mean, everything comes down to the people, doesn't it? And I find, I mean, this all started as a podcast. It's now sort of grown into a platform, so I don't do as much travelling about as I used to. But whenever I do, and I talk to people and I hear their stories, it always reminds me and like refocuses me on why we're doing what we're doing. It's to support, like you say, this like community of people who share this appreciation for the same things in life and design and craft and bringing people together. And it's just always so brilliant to come back to that. It kind of reminds me of something you mentioned yesterday in your sort of welcome words about this idea of what actually is luxury these days, and is it time in nature, time with your family? And I'd like to hear a little bit about your thoughts around that.
Yeah, interesting. So, I mean, first thing is that I think in terms of people, I mean, the only really significant legacy that we all leave when we leave a company or leave a place or leave die is a legacy of love.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any other sort of significant legacy. I mean, you can give your children $1 billion and if they're miserable.
Yeah.
So if they haven't been loved by you. So I think I think it all comes down to people. And I'm very, very interested in people. And funny enough, I've written this book about gentle leadership. I really believe in the value of the human. But to your second point, I think I'm a consumer. I'm very interested in clothing and product. And as I mentioned earlier, in provenance. And when we launched this business, Gladstone Helen, which we're going to probably merge into this Gladstone's world, amazing Airbnb, which is mini hotel, was on the same street as all of the traditional luxury LVMH businesses, whatever, you know, all the kind of, I mean, there was a Gucci, there was a Louis Vuitton, there was a Miu Miu, there was a whatever, you know, they were all there.
Yeah. And
they were all empty, of course, and they were all full of people dressed up to the nines looking at their phones. And you know, that is not luxury. That is absolute bullshit. It's hollow bullshit. And it's been predicated on a certain type of customer, and it's made some people to be the richest people in the world. And if people want it, that is fine. I have no issue. They can have it. But I think luxury is about, ancestry.
Yeah.
So in my case, that ancestry is a long history of my family. But it could be the ancestry of being the daughter of a stonemason who's still a stonemason, or in the case of the amazing Claire from the Cool restaurant we had last night, her family being hoteliers on Skye for 113 years or something. So it's about that that sort of passed down skill, and again, it doesn't even have to be relatives.
Yeah.
You know, if you learn how to be a blacksmith from a blacksmith who learnt it from a blacksmith, it doesn't have to be your grandparents, but that ancestry. And I think I've become increasingly interested in this idea that soil and water and fire are what we sort of need, and that, you know, what's clearly what's gone wrong with the world is a disconnect substantially from nature. That's not the only problem, but you know, if people can get out into nature and chop up their own logs and light fires and swim in cold rivers, there would be no fighting in the streets. And there would be many less health issues. Obviously, we know if people were able to grow their own vegetables. And so my point is that is luxury, and that will make you feel better than going to buy a new handbag for £5,000, and which is fundamentally as hollow an experience as doom scrolling on your phone. That's not to say that beautifully made Japanese clothes, which I particularly love, are not extraordinary things, but I want to know that how the cloth was dyed and that it really was made by someone who actually is a craftsperson. I mean, you know, we know that these luxury companies are essentially importing Chinese workers into Italy, underpaying them and saying made in Italy. And that's hollow. That's not luxury. So luxury is about coming here with your friends, coming here with your family, mixing up the ages, going for a lovely long walk, and then maybe, you know, playing a game in the afternoon and going to the sauna and maybe having dinner at our little occasional restaurant. And it doesn't have to be all about sort of yoga and, you know, never drinking and not looking at your phone and all of that stuff, because that's part of our lives. You might have a hangover, but it's still the luxury of having had an amazing evening with your friends. And actually, it's probably made better if someone's filmed it, so you can laugh at it the next day.
Watch it back.
So, you know, we don't need to go... I think that society's got itself into this very sort of like, you know, I've got to detox, whether digitally or, you know, through not eating or drinking something. And, you know, we don't need that. When we don't... Our life could... The pleasure, the deep pleasure, if you come here with your best friends or your family, your parents, and you know, it's expensive, and you eat beautiful food, and that's expensive, and you come in here and you buy a beautiful jacket, and that's expensive, but that is luxury because you've connected with people and place, and that's how I think luxury can be defined. And I've sort of gone on a slight kind of crusade against traditional kind of notions of luxury. I actually had, for about 13 years, I had a share in a publication which was a business-to-business luxury connector, conference and magazine business. And, you know, I knew that under the surface there's some very, very interesting stuff going on there. I mean, some of these luxury hoteliers are brilliant. Brilliant. You know, but they've, of course, become out of range. There was an article in the FT recently saying that the average nightly rate globally of a 5-star hotel is now $1,200.
Wow. For the most basic room they've got.
And clearly, you know, I think unless you're either extremely rich or extremely stupid, that is just not an option. And so again, to our time in Florence, many years ago we'd stayed in a nice hotel there. We'd taken the kids there. Actually, it was all on press trips because I used to have this magazine. But I remember the hotel was about sort of €250 or whatever it was then. And then I looked it up this time when we went, and it started. I mean, it started at 2,200 a night.
Unbelievable.
And then we found through the FT actually an amazing little place called Casa G Ferende, and it was like an apartment that had been done up absolutely beautifully, that had a little breakfast bar and had 7 bedrooms and was a reasonable price, and had one person working who was super nice and super charming, and you just got a code for the door, and you know, that felt to me at less than a fifth of the price of this hotel, or about a fifth of the price. That was luxury because someone cared and someone remembered our name, and you know, they didn't interfere, and there was, you know, an honesty bar in the sitting room. And so I think this luxury is about these things. It's about these moments. There are other luxury things like sort of something like, you know, hailing a black cab when you're really knackered.
Yeah.
Or going out for a beautiful dinner. You know, that is luxury. But we're trying to redefine luxury. And I think that we need to an extent, I'm interested in it. But I also think we need to shout about it, because people need to have the stories explained to them. And I have realised that our businesses, I mean, we're not super expensive, by the way, but our businesses only work if we charge the right amount of money, because you can't pay above minimum wage.
Yeah.
You can't. We have our own bakery in Wales, so, you know, we employ 3 bakers who make the bread from 4 o'clock every morning or whatever. You can't do that and charge the same price for a sandwich as you would get in Boots or whatever. So, you know, we have to explain to people why we're expensive, and then I think people sort of understand that.
Yeah, it reminds me a bit of, you know, Tony Chocolonely when that launched,
Yes.
and everyone was like, "How much for a bar of chocolate?"
Yes.
And their response was, "That's how much every bar of chocolate should be if
Absolutely
everyone
right.
gets paid."
That's
for
very.
it."
That's I didn't know
Yeah.
that, but I mean that's a great brand, and of course it
Yeah.
has very good foundation. You
And-
know, to its you know, it's morally
Exactly.
very good, and I think it you know it's I think the B Corp thing is a noble thing. It's expensive and difficult to do, but actually every business should be basically doing that.
Yeah.
And I don't think it necessarily, you know, it's a shame that it needs to be certified. I think what B Corp probably does quite well is remind people of what's necessary, that you can't just walk the walk and talk the talk. But having a B Corp doesn't necessarily make you.
Yeah. Especially
Really
now,
good.
I think so many, it's become a slight tick box
It has.
activity. And I think there's a lot of, especially in hospitality, where it wasn't really designed specifically for hospitality businesses who are doing really interesting things that aren't B Corp, but putting a lot more intention and thought into how do they run and what that looks like for them as an independent business. So I think, yeah, you're right. Really a great concept, but
I mean, I'm just,
Yeah.
you know, I'm keen not to in any way slag it off, because
Yeah.
what do I know? But, you know, I think its principles are very strong.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a business like any other business. But, I mean, the other thing is that, you know, in terms of defining luxury, we are at an unbelievably difficult time.
yeah.
And I run a relatively small hospitality business in Wales, where we have a farm shop, quite a big one, a kind of 100 cover at any time restaurant, sort of brunchy restaurant, a gastropub, and an series of event spaces. And because of the British national insurance, which is a tax on employers essentially, and minimum wages, our wage bill went up by an average of £12,000 a month last year. So we had to take it, and I think it went up by 140 grand over the year, so roughly 12,000. So we had to take that extra in margin just to stand still. So we can't apologise for price.
No.
Therefore, we need to explain more why we're luxury. Because all customers have a tendency to look at things and go, how much?
Yeah.
You know, because the supermarkets dominate Britain, and the cheap clothing companies dominate Britain. It's not just Britain, and people are used to those prices.
Yeah.
And what they fail to understand is that if you're paying those prices, someone is being screwed.
Exactly.
And whether it's whoever it is, whether it's the staff, the delivery company, the farmers, the makers, whoever it is, someone is, because it's,
Yeah.
you know, even at volume, you can't do it without screwing someone.
Yeah, and I think the hospitality business have such a cool potential to provide this employment and really interesting jobs for people in communities that are maybe rural, they're not in the southeast economic zone. I actually grew up quite near your Welsh estate. Everyone I know has moved to London, and actually talking to a lot of your team, they said they went back home after uni, they were about to move to London, and then they got a really cool job working at Harden, and they're still
it's
there,
so nice.
and now they're growing up, you know, now they're working near where they grew up, and like a lot of their school friends are back, and it's just amazing that these projects can have such an impact on
Isn't it?
community.
I mean, it's lovely. Yeah, I mean, I suppose ultimately, you know, that you build teams around you over time.
Yeah.
And it takes a long time to get to this point. I mean, I'm interested in people, and all the people you've met, I genuinely love.
Yeah.
I mean, I think they are all really amazing people, and the fact that we can, that they say that, and I have heard them say it, and it's lovely that they thought they might be passing through, but they've stayed because of our work. I think if we can give meaning to them, we also get the best people.
Exactly.
You know, it does work two ways. And, you know, as I said earlier, the people that are here are really committed.
Yeah.
But also, you know, I always try to see the person first, and to be, you know, kind and thoughtful and considerate. But actually, I'm also super driven.
Yeah.
And you know, they have to do things right. So although I do learn from them, I hope that they learn more from me, and I hope that if they were to, which I hope they won't, but if they were to leave, I would like to think that they would go and say, actually, you know, the stuff that I learned with those guys was the most valuable.
Yeah.
You know, these were some valuable lessons. And I think, you know, I don't think we'll be an incubator, because I think they're all going to hang around. They'll probably listen to this and think otherwise. But, you know, I really do. All of those people that you've met, I really genuinely do admire and genuinely like and love in you know, in many ways. But you know, part of that is because they're so frigging good at their job.
Yeah.
And part of that, I think, is part of it is instinctive. They look and see what they think is needed here. But I hope that part is also learning.
Yeah.
And I think it's, you know, it may or may not be a good skill, but I mean, you know, I'm always pointing at little things that aren't right.
Yeah, someone has to.
Yeah, well,
that's your prerogative.
I said, I mean, we have this. So Gladstone Helen is named after us, and the Helen bit is the surname of a girl who's the creative director in Wales. She's currently on maternity leave, but she has been the creative director working under me. So her job is the look, feel, smell, sound of every environment, whether it's a walled garden or a farm shop. And I said to her, if you go into that space and you tell me that everything's right, then you're not doing your job.
Yeah.
Because there is always something. And I have just an eye like that, which is not necessarily a good thing. But I can tell you there's a mug over there that's pushed back in a way I don't like it.
Don't look at it, Charlie.
But
Don't
I'm not going to
look
look at it. But that's the way I live my life. You know, at home, I'm like, oh God, I've got to get up. But I think, you know, all that sounds a bit sort of a bit crazy. But I think you have to go into a room and say, why isn't the music loud enough? Or you know, why haven't they relit those candles? Or why is that lamp, you know, off? And I think you just have to be very, very dictatorial. Determined.
Like that. Claim your dictatorship status.
Yeah, exactly. A benign
dictator of Glen Dye.
It's a sort of theocratic kind
I
of.
love it. We're looking ahead then to a dictatorship of multiple businesses spread across 2 different regions, countries. What do the next few years or the future look like for you?
I think the future is just to carry on getting better.
Yeah.
So we're going through a very good period, despite the extraordinary challenges. And you mentioned in passing, you know, how important hospitality is. And I mean, it's an odd thing, because it really is being shafted by this government.
Yeah.
And I don't understand that they can't understand, the government, or aren't prepared to understand how important hospitality is to the very beating heart of our world.
Yeah.
And, you know, that they've got other issues like the NHS that could be massively helped by supporting hospitality. Old people need to go out and have a cup of tea and talk to their friends and have a chat, and that is invaluable in terms of the happiness of society. And I think that our sort of happiness index, we don't value quality of life enough in this country. You know, love them or hate them, the French value quality of life. They subsidise their bakers and their butchers, their shops. The supermarkets have to be out of town. You know, they have to be closed on a Sunday afternoon. The market keeps going, not just because people like markets, but because it is valued by government, and that happiness is important. So our aim is to try, despite the challenges, to get better every year. But I think that, and we will expand Glen Dye's housing accommodation a little bit when we can raise a bit more money. But building has doubled in price in the last few years, and we've got a few houses we want to do that we're holding off on. But I think the thing that's interesting me at the moment is this notion of this. I'm quite keen on this notion of this business Gladstones.
Yeah.
And I like this idea of trying to create sort of a space that I can hold a lot of our work in. And I'm hoping that some of our children, you know, in a few years will start to take over. One works full time with us. She's actually on maternity at the moment. One is a chef who's cooking for us tonight.
Very excited for that.
And I hope that they'll become more engaged. One lives next door to us in Wales. One, I've got a new book coming out. Two of my children are graphic designers. One has just designed that. The two graphic designers did all of the identity for Gladstone Helen. We're kind of we're sort of bringing them in, but that's the future for me. And I think I want everything I do is going, as I say, is going to be about place. So although I've written a book, which I think is a serious book, it's my third book. It may or may not be any good, but everything I do is about place. So although it's about life, it's about Glen Dye. And I think that everything I do is... So I would hope that's another layer.
Yeah, another layer. Layers on layers.
Layers on layers on layers, yeah. And I hope that when people come and they come into our little shop, which we have a little sort of general store over there, which like this place is an honesty store. You just come in and you sign for whatever, or you run it through on the Zettel. There'll be a book there, and I think that even if people don't read it, they might pick it up and look at this and think, that's another, that's really interesting. This just doesn't look like it looks like something real and considered. And of course, part of it's down to having extremely good people around us. But I think, we'll just get better and better. And I love my work. And I was talking to someone yesterday who was sort of, people often say, when do you stop? But I don't stop because I don't really see a distinction between work and play, because I love my work and because my work is my legacy. I had to restore these. I didn't have to. My previous generations decided to let them go to rack and ruin, but I felt compelled to keep them going and to turn them into something. So I think I'll just carry on working for a few years.
Just carry on.
30 more.
Keep
I think
on
I've got
carrying
30
on.
more years.
I think you do.
Yeah.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure chatting. I'm just such a fan of everything we're doing. I do have 3 questions I do wrap up with.
Go on, Molly.
Let me hit
Lay
you with them.
on me.
Number 1, where are you running away to disconnect and to detox?
I don't run away to disconnect and detox. I think that something that's really good for me is I'm an avid reader.
Yes.
So I read about 100 novels a year.
Wow.
And I love reading, but equally I do it partly in order to take my face away from my screen and from my work. And so for me, a great weekend could be all sorts, but one of my favourite weekends would be just spending a lot of time walking and also just reading.
Lovely. Any favourite books from the last year?
I actually do. I do a newsletter that goes out to about 100,000 people every month.
Wow.
Which is my culture email, in which I recommend the books that I've read and the music I like and the art that I've seen. But I would say that I've read every book on the Booker shortlist, which is a good reference point from last year, bar one actually, and they're all extremely good.
Very good.
So I like that sort of literary fiction.
Okay.
And probably the best book I have read recently is called Upward Bound.
Oh yeah.
And it is by a guy called Woody someone or other, and he is the first non-speaking autistic person to graduate the creative writing course at the University of Los Angeles.
Oh wow.
And I think it'll be a massive hit. And it's a novel.
Okay.
But then I also loved a book called This Is Where the Serpent Lives, which is a book about Pakistan.
Oh,
a generational thing. But I think, and now I'm reading my way through the International Booker Prize shortlist, and the answer is that these prizes in many ways are the Booker and the International Booker and the Mercury Music Prize are generally there to encourage us, to show us what is really good.
Yeah.
So they're like a really finessed version of a great bookshop which has chosen its favourite books, and actually they're really, really good at it. And I think, compared to something like the Brits or the Grammys or the Oscars, which are a much more commercial proposition, there may be good things that win, but on the whole, it's about who shouts loudest and who has the most money behind things. I feel like the Booker Prize is spectacularly good and always has been. And that's an amazing thing. And by the way, all these journalists, these readers have to read all these books twice, like 80 of them or 100. So there's a lot of effort that goes in.
Yeah.
Those are the books that I recommend. So that's my place to detox.
Okay.
Walking
Good book.
and and books. And I really do, anyone who's listening to this or watching this or whatever, I mean, there is something so beautiful about the page. It's paper. It's something in your hand.
Yeah.
And you can't look at your phone at the same time. You cannot do that.
Yeah.
And so I think it's not all absolute pleasure, but very little in life is.
Yeah.
But, the effort is rewarded and it becomes habitual, a bit like walking.
Yeah.
If you do it every day. And people say to me, how do you get the time? Well, the answer is, of course, if you live in London or whatever and you take a book on the tube, even if your journey is only 10 minutes, you can read 8 pages.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and then you're not trying to log on to the dodgy Wi-Fi.
Exactly. And, just check you haven't had an email, which, by the way, I'd be doing. Check I haven't had an email for 3.5 minutes.
Oh, I love that one. So the next one's slightly different. Your ultimate birthday party or celebration, where are you hosting it or what are you doing?
I did. We had a fantastic birthday party at Harden, which is our Welsh estate, for our joint 60th birthdays, Caroline and I, last September. And our children asked us what we wanted for our birthday, and we said, we'll pay for you to organise the party. And we had it at Harden, and we had about just over 100 people for 2 nights, 2 days, and they organised it all. And the weather was great. I mean, it was a freakishly good weather, and hence why I believe in good weather.
So it seems to have a good run with the weather here.
And it was all over the immediate estate. So in our garden, in our wall garden, we've restored, partly in our house, etc., etc. And so it was really lovely for me because it was the culmination of this very long restoration project. And of course, you want to show that to your friends more than anything else. And many of them hadn't really seen it. They'd seen it, they'd seen things when it was all very run down. So that was literally my favourite thing. And we picked all ages because we spent a lot of time with our kids' friends. And we just picked sort of 10 people from 8 or 10 different, roughly 10 people from 8 or 10 different stages of our lives. So I had a few school friends, a few university friends, Caroline the same. We had friends from our London life. We have friends from Scotland, friends from Wales, and just sort of got them all together. So it was quite a sort of weird
all
mishmash.
These different pockets of your life meeting.
And so that was the perfect party.
Oh, I'm so glad you've already had it. Fantastic.
Yeah, although the only bad thing was that we had a fantastic DJ called Greg Wilson, who is my sort of dream DJ, who I love. And very kindly agreed to come and do it, and I did get spectacularally drunk.
I think that's your problem.
And so I felt like that was the only bad thing. I can kind of almost remember the hangover worse than anything else, more than anything else.
That sounds brilliant.
So I've already had that.
Perfect. And then this is the final question: your once in a lifetime bucket list trip. Where are you heading, and are you staying anywhere special?
Good question. I mean, there aren't many places that I haven't been to that I want to go to.
Yeah.
I 100%, I feel like we travel a lot through sort of combination of work. But I think if I had one place I'd like to go back to, it would probably be Tokyo.
Yes.
Caroline used to work in Tokyo a lot, and so knows it well. We had a shop there, but I don't know it very well, but I think Japan is definitely my bucket list trip,
and that touches on so many things we've spoken about today: the craft, the provenance.
Absolutely. Yeah, beautiful. Really beautiful food, tradition, provenance. So I love Japan, but I mean, I think in terms of recommending a place that we've just been to, I mean, I just think Florence is an astonishing place. You just have to literally move 10 metres off the beaten track. The queues for the Duomo are so long that you can't go in there. But that place is. Has it given more to the world than anything else? I think so, probably.
Up there for sure.
And it's still there.
Yeah.
Every turning. You can't get into the Duomo, but you walk for 10 minutes and you can see a Michelangelo crucifix, hand carved with no one else in the room.
Yeah.
And then there's these amazing Rothkos next door to these extraordinary frescoes, Fra Angelico frescoes in San Marco, and that's just mind-blowing,
isn't it?
And then stay at this place called Casa G Firenze.
All right, I'm off to book my
But
flights.
that's the bucket list I've done.
No, I love it. It's been such a pleasure, Charlie. Thank you so much for chatting with me today.
Thank you, Molly. That's really nice. I've really enjoyed it. As you can tell.
Me too.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Curated Spaces. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. And of course, don't forget to head to curatorspaces.club, where you can find all of our podcasts along with a collection of independent, soulful stays ready for you to discover and book through your favourite tastemakers. And I'll be back next time with more Curator Spaces.